The dog who waited. The rain had been falling for hours, a cold, needling rain that turned the alleyway into a river of mud and reflections. Somewhere between the echo of thunder and the hum of passing cars, a dog lay motionless beside a rusted dumpster. His fur, once golden and proud, was now clumped with dirt and rainwater. His name was Rex, though no one in that part of town knew it yet. To them, he was just another stray who wouldn't move, even when the world around him did. A police officer had found him first, huddled against a brick wall, eyes wide but empty. When they tried to lift him, he didn't growl or flinch. He simply stared at the road ahead, as if waiting for someone to come back. His paws were raw, his ribs visible, his collar frayed and half torn. The tag that might have told his story was gone. At the shelter, they called him the Ghost. He didn't bark. He didn't eat unless no one was watching. Even the other dogs seemed uneasy around him, as if they sensed the weight of something he refused to let go of. The vet said he'd been out there for weeks, maybe months, surviving on rainwater and scraps. But survival wasn't what kept him there. It was something else, something unseen. Dr. Harper, the head veterinarian, had seen trauma before. Broken legs, infected wounds, the quiet gaze of animals who'd given up. But this was different. There was no fear in Rex's eyes, only waiting, as if he still heard something in the distance. A car door closing, a man's voice calling, "Come on, boy, let's go." Sometimes in the quiet after closing, she swore she saw him lift his head when a car engine passed by. Just a flicker, like a spark trying to remember how to burn. And once, when thunder cracked so loud it shook the windows, Rex whimpered, pressing his paw against the cage bars. His eyes locked on something far beyond the rain. The staff tried everything. Treats, toys, gentle words, but nothing broke through. Until the new volunteer came. Her name was Mia, and she didn't try to touch him. She just sat by his cage every evening, reading softly from an old book, her voice steady and kind. She didn't know his story. She didn't need to. She only knew that some silences aren't empty. They're full of waiting. And then one night the storm returned. The power went out, lanterns flickered, and the world shrank to the sound of falling rain. Mia sat by Rex's cage, whispering his name once more. And through the darkness, he stirred, ears twitching, eyes widening, as if something had finally reached him. Because through the roar of the storm, carried on the wind and memory alike, came a voice he knew, a voice that once meant home, the ghost in the kennel. The shelter was loud, a chorus of barks, whines, and clattering metal. Yet within that noise sat silence. Rex's silence. He remained curled in the corner of his kennel, eyes open but distant, as if the world around him had already ended. The volunteers whispered about him, the abandoned shepherd, the one who didn't move. Dr. Harper watched him from her office window every day, her expression caught between compassion and helplessness. She'd seen dogs broken before, but not like this. Mia arrived one rainy afternoon, her first day as a volunteer. The shelter smelled of wet fur and disinfectant, and hope felt like something you had to imagine. She noticed Rex immediately, the way he stared at the door, never blinking when someone entered, as though measuring every new arrival against a memory that refused to fade. For days, she simply sat near his kennel, reading in a low voice, never forcing eye contact. It was as if she was trying to bridge a gap made of ghosts and silence. Slowly, his ears began to twitch when she spoke. It was small but real, a heartbeat where there had been none. Then, one night, thunder rolled through the valley. The lights flickered out, and the shelter was swallowed in darkness. Lanterns flickered, shadows moved, and for the first time, Rex stood up. Not to run, not to fight, but to listen. Something in the storm called to him, something older than pain. Dr. Harper saw it too. "He's remembering," she whispered. But what he remembered would soon break open a truth that no one was ready for. Echoes through the rain. The storm raged for hours, pounding the roof until water seeped through the old tiles. Mia stayed reading by lamplight, her voice trembling as the wind howled outside. Rex was standing now, ears alert, nose pressed to the bars, eyes fixed on the door. He wasn't looking at her. He was looking through her. Suddenly a sound rose above the rain. A car pulling into the driveway. Headlights swept across the wet concrete, casting long shadows. Rex froze. His body trembled as if struck by lightning. Mia frowned. "It's okay, boy," she murmured, stepping closer. But Rex began to whimper, soft, broken sounds that came from somewhere deep inside. He'd been silent for weeks, but now his breath came fast, shallow, desperate. Dr. Harper entered the room, alarmed. "What happened?" Before Mia could answer, the door creaked open. A man stepped in, soaked to the bone, eyes wide with disbelief. He wore an old army jacket, the kind that carried 1,000 miles of dust. His gaze found Rex and everything else fell away. "Rex?" he whispered. Rex stiffened. His tail didn't wag, his ears didn't drop, but his eyes. They changed. The emptiness cracked, and something alive stared back. The man took a step forward, voice trembling. "It's me, buddy." "It's Jack, but trauma has its own memory, and Rex didn't move. Not yet." A name remembered Jack had been searching for months. He was a firefighter, the kind who ran toward the flames when others fled. The night of the accident, he and Rex had been trapped in a collapsing structure. Jack had barely made it out alive. Rex hadn't, or so they thought. He told Dr. Harper everything. The search, the sleepless nights, the belief that his partner was gone. When he saw the shelter's online listing, something in Rex's eyes had stopped him cold. He had to come. Now, in that dim shelter hallway, Jack knelt beside the cage, voice breaking as he said the name again and again. "Rex, come home." But the shepherd didn't move. His eyes darted between past and present, torn between love and fear. He'd heard that voice once before, right before everything went dark. Mia could feel the tension, a fragile thread stretched to breaking. She spoke softly. "Give him time. He's still inside there somewhere." Jack nodded, tears mixing with rainwater on his cheeks. He began to hum, a tune he used to whistle after every rescue. Slowly, Rex's ears twitched. The rhythm of memory began to stir. Dr. Harper whispered, "If he remembers love, he might remember home." Rex took a step forward, trembling, uncertain, but alive. Then suddenly his legs gave out and he collapsed. His breathing faltered. The vet's voice cut through the panic. "We're losing him." Between life and memory, the next hours blurred into chaos. Rex was rushed to the clinic room, his chest heaving in shallow bursts. Dr. Harper worked fast. IV lines, oxygen, a flurry of hands and heartbeats. Mia held his paw, whispering, "Don't leave now. You just found your way back." Jack stood frozen in the corner, haunted by the guilt of survival. "He waited for me," he said quietly, voice cracking. "All this time." "He waited." Dr. Harper's tone was firm. "Then don't let him give up now." Outside, the storm broke into dawn, pale light spilling through the blinds like forgiveness. Inside, Rex's pulse began to fade. But then, faintly, Jack began to speak. Not in words, but in that same gentle whistle. The sound drifted through the room like sunlight breaking fog. Rex's ears flicked. His chest rose a little higher. One heartbeat, then another. Dr. Harper exhaled. "He's fighting." Tears rolled down Mia's cheeks. "He heard you." Jack dropped to his knees beside him. "You came back, boy. That's all that matters." Rex's eyes fluttered open. Weak but alive. The ghost had returned, pulled from the dark by the sound of love. But recovery, like memory, is never a straight line. And healing would demand one final test. The voice that brings him home. Weeks passed. Rex regained strength slowly, walking again, eating from Jack's hand, sleeping without trembling. The shelter became a place of quiet wonder, where volunteers stopped just to watch the two together, man and dog, stitched back together by grace and time. Dr. Harper signed the release papers with a smile. "He's ready." When Jack opened the truck door, Rex hesitated. The open world waited. Sunlight, trees, the echo of what once was. Then, with a deep breath, he climbed in, curling beside his partner like he'd never left. As they drove, wind rushing through the windows, Jack whispered, "You know, buddy, I never stopped calling your name." Rex's head rested on his knee. Then, from somewhere deep inside, came a soft, familiar sound, a whine that rose into a quiet bark. The first full voice of life he'd made since the day he was lost. It wasn't just a bark. It was recognition, forgiveness, home. The camera of life zooms out, road stretching into horizon, sunlight spilling through trees. The ghost no longer waiting but alive again. Because sometimes love doesn't need to find new words. Sometimes it only needs to be heard again.